Today we come out of the second lockdown, which had been put in place because of the increasing rise of coronavirus cases. Because I am a reader in the parish, I receive a monthly magazine from the Central Readers' Council. In March this year, during the first lockdown, the Vice Chair of the CRC, Gertrude Solars, wrote an article about coronavirus, which I would like to read to you now. Gertrude began the article by saying, "I'm writing this with my heart in my mouth, and I am willing to be corrected." Gertrude continues, "A friend recently sent me a video clip by a speaker asserting that God has sent COVID-19 in judgment of our turning away from him and our immoral lives. There were some heavy hints what sort of immorality the speaker had in mind. I don't believe that. For a start, I don't believe God sits in heaven pulling a lever called judgment when he has had enough. Judgment, as I understand it, is not doled out as a discrete decision by an almighty power reacting to human behaviour and earthly events. The way I understand judgment is that God, in his wisdom, love and power, has created the world with a moral law of cause and effect, which is simply part of the way things are, a moral law of nature, so to speak. If I abuse creation, it will wither. If I abuse my body, I will get ill. If I abuse my neighbour, relationships will be damaged and harm will ensue. God does not need to pull a trigger. The current outbreak of the coronavirus can be traced to a natural chain of cause and effect. Unhygienic conditions, people living very close together, globalisation, etc. Together, they add up to the position we are in now. As I write this in the third week of March, by the time you read this, the position may have changed. Given the circumstances we have created, an event of this kind was highly likely, if not inevitable. I don't believe God sits in heaven dropping viruses. I believe God sits with us, weeping with us. I would like to suggest, though, that this crisis can be seen as an opportunity, and if you are so inclined, as a sign of divine patience and mercy. The positive environmental effects of decreased production and tourism are already becoming visible in what is really a very short time. Could it be that we are being halted in our tracks before the environmental catastrophe we are heading towards becomes unavoidable and irreversible, to make us reflect on what we are doing to the planet and to ourselves, and to help us ask if there is not a better way? Climate campaigners say that only radical change will save the environment from irreversible damage. Radical change is not what many of us will make willingly, but now it is forced upon us. As another post I read says, we are being shaken awake because we were not prepared to open our eyes ourselves. And it's not just about the environment. For years, some have bewailed and criticised the modern pace of living, the excessive hours spent at work, the lack of time for family, the individualism of our culture. Suddenly, we are forced to slow down, pare down work, spend time at home, possibly consume less of what is not necessary. Is this entirely bad? I am aware that for many, the spread of this virus means real suffering and hardship. I would hope that churches are at the forefront of efforts to give help and support. I would also love to hear the church regain a prophetic ministry, not sitting in judgment from on high on a society that is reeling from the impact of this virus, but shedding light on these events and showing that this too can be a time of God's favour, a day the Lord has made. Jesus showed us how God draws alongside those who are weak and vulnerable. Let's do the same. We are in this together. It is thought-provoking to watch how a society which so values individuality and self-fulfillment suddenly suffers from the prohibition of close personal contacts. Will we come out the other end with a renewed sense of community and a renewed commitment to one another and the common good? I think this article is as relevant now as it was back in March, and I hope, like me, you found in it a lot to think about and reflect on.